This is a mind-blowing movie titled Staring at Stranger. Released in 2022. The synopsis of this crazy-ending movie tells the story of an unemployed person who chooses to live in a house and live in someone else's armoire. How is that possible? At the beginning of the film, an employee at a furniture company named Damien is shown. Unfortunately, that day he was fired from his job by his boss for an unreasonable reason, so Damien, who was angry like the Hulk, became upset, crazy, and vented all his madness by destroying the cash register there. Obviously Damien was running away, chased by the boss, who was afraid of being asked for compensation. Damien hid in a wooden cupboard that was being transported using a DHL transport car. So that Mr. Boss did not manage to find him, it is clear that Damien was also accidentally carried away by the courier car to someone's address. When they arrived at the location, the porters were completely unaware that there was a human in the cupboard they were carrying. So Damien had to be trapped in a difficult situation that did not allow him to get out. Until some time later, when he came out, Damien was shocked to find himself in a room where, when the owner of the house came, Damien quickly hid under the bed. Seeing two people coming, they were a married couple who owned the wooden cupboard where he was hiding. Which turned out that this cupboard was an inheritance from the wife's grandfather. Even though the room already had a better cupboard leaning against the wall, the wife still put it there right in front of the existing cupboard. Night fell, Damien who fell asleep there right above the husband and wife. Where when he woke up there was a daughter of this couple standing still as if aware of his presence when he started to approach suddenly. Yes, it was just a dream of Damien because of fear. Yes, it's natural I would also be scared if I was in his position when I was in a stranger's house without permission. So when they were snoring, Damien immediately went out and went to the toilet to urinate, which he had been holding before the head of the tool came off. Because he was curious, Damien went to another room to see the daughter of this couple, and he felt that this was all a mistake. Then Damien wanted to immediately go downstairs to get out of the house. But here he thought of something out of the box. He remembered his fate, which was now unemployed, had no place to live, no income, no shame, of course. While here he clearly lived in a nice house, so Damien decided not to go and went back to hiding under the bed. The next morning, when the couple went out to do activities and their daughter went to school, Damien could also go out and roam around this house. The first thing he did was obviously breakfast. However, as a parasite living in someone else's house, Damien seemed quite self-aware by washing his own dishes, including the family's dishes. After breakfast he went to the warehouse to look for unused clothes. It seemed Damien really wanted to live in this house, like making a secret door behind a wooden cupboard connected to the cupboard behind it. This job was easy considering Damien was a carpenter who was used to repairing furniture. When they got home, the wife named Lucia was confused by the clean plates and glasses, but she assumed that her daughter had cleaned them up. However, the husband named Feed denied it by saying, "Since when did our child become diligent?" So that Feed concluded that Lucia might have forgotten to clean it up herself. The next morning, as usual, everyone had left, so Damien immediately came out of the cupboard to eat. However, this time he not only washed all the plates and glasses but also looked for broken items to fix, one of which was the bookshelf belonging to the owner's daughter. So they were confused again with all the clean plates that over time, Damien's days as a parasite in this house were like that, so that over time Lucia had become accustomed to the condition of the house that was clean without ever questioning the strangeness. Unfortunately, one night when Damien came out of his cupboard he was surprised because he was caught by their daughter named Maria. However, it turned out that Maria was not surprised and remained silent. It seems that Maria was still sleepy or not fully conscious. Oh, thank God, right on a holiday. When Lucia was relaxing, she contacted her best friend to tell her about the strangeness that had happened since the arrival of her grandfather's heirloom cupboard. It was also revealed that Lucia had a twin sister who died when she was little. This was made clearer by the photos and notes that Damien found in one of the books, plus the twins often played in the wooden cupboard, so the assumption began to arise that the strangeness that had been happening lately was the work of his twin brother's ghost. Instead of being afraid and returning the old cupboard, Lucia actually remembered the memories of playing with her twin brother. She even went into the cupboard and sat right next to Damien, who was only blocked by a skateboard. Oh sorry, the cupboard board. The next day everyone went back to doing their respective activities. Unlike usual, Damien was immediately surprised when Maria suddenly came home from skipping school with her boyfriend named Raul. As an adult man who has repented for being a jerk, Damien could immediately tell the character of Raul, who was a jerk who only wanted to take advantage of Maria when they both went to the room to do fun sports activities. Damien had time to listen to Raul's conversation, forcing him to record this fun activity using a cell phone camera. This is where we will begin to see Damien's concern for this family who do not just sleep, eat, defecate and become parasites. However, Damien secretly took Maria's cell phone and found a crazy fact that Maria had been blackmailed, with the threat of a video of their fun sports activities being sent to her parents. Obviously the next morning Maria was confused by her missing cell phone when the people at home had gone out. Damien took the time to breathe fresh oxygen and unexpectedly someone saw him. So he had no choice but to greet the neighbor who looked confused. Until then Raul appeared, who turned out to be Damien, who deliberately used Maria's cell phone to invite Raul to this house, and what's even crazier is that Damien claimed to be Maria's father. He asked Raul to stop blackmailing Maria and forbade him from having any more contact with Maria. If not, then Damien threatened to tell Raul's parents about the depravity of this young man. After Maria's problem was solved, now Lucia was seen sitting in a wooden cupboard. Damien became carried away by the feeling of being part of this family, as if something bad happened then Damien would not hesitate to help and solve it, even though he was very aware that his position here was nobody and just a stranger who was staying in this house. As a result of Damien's actions towards Raul yesterday, Maria became angry with her father because she thought he had scolded Raul and told him to stay away from Maria. So there was a little argument between them which made Damien feel a little guilty. Right at the weekend Lucia and Maria planned to go on vacation to her parents' house outside the city. While Feed chose to stay at home on the grounds that there was still unfinished work, as soon as they both left, Feed was immediately busy cleaning himself, wearing nice clothes as if he was going to greet someone. Sure enough, and Damien was shocked when he saw the old man doing good sports with another woman. This fact proved that Feed had an affair with his coworker. With his own eyes, Damien saw how jerk Feed was when his wife and daughter were away. He took advantage of it to make out with his mistress at home. Until the evening, the mistress named Paula was still in this house, with Damien who had to be a silent witness to their good sports activities. Until then Damien heard Feed and Paula's conversation. Feed told the story of the beginning of their meeting with Lucia. At that time the two of them accidentally met in the hospital when she was dying from a wasp sting, which turned out that Feed and Lucia both had allergies to wasp stings. From there they finally started a relationship. When Feed and Paula were fast asleep, Damien was finally able to get out of the cupboard and then saw the messy plates from their 2 meals. Damien became lazy and didn't want to clean it up. In fact, he became very stressed after realizing that the happiness of this family was actually ruined by Feed himself. The next day, the 2 cheating couples went out who knows where. That day Damien also intended to get rid of the parasite in this house, namely Feed. Well, isn't he the parasite himself? Which means Damien planned to finish him off by stung him by a wasp so that his death would look natural. Armed with information from Mr. Google, Damien made a trap to catch some wasps outside. After succeeding, Damien made the bees pass out using smoke. Then put it in the trash can in the kitchen. So that, when Feed opened it, the wasps would immediately fly and sting him like crazy. Not long after, Feed and Paula came home. Damien waited and hoped that his plan would work in the afternoon. After Feed and Paula were satisfied wrestling without a referee, Paula immediately said goodbye before Lucia and Maria returned home. Not long after, Feed immediately cleaned up all the mess caused by his affairs, such as mucus and a messy bed, including the pizza container. So, right when he opened his trash can, Damien suddenly heard a scream from FD in pain asking for help. A moment later he went out to make sure his trap went according to plan. Then Damien sat right next to Feed until he met his death. Hearing the sound of a car coming, Damien rushed back into the closet. Lucia and Maria, who knew about it, immediately called for help after seeing Fed lying stiff and lifeless. The police began to investigate and examine the entire house without ever suspecting a secret door behind the wooden cupboard. The suspicion of natural death was further strengthened by evidence of bee stings on Fed's body, so that this case was declared a pure accident. Damien actually realized that what he did was a big mistake, but considering Lucia and Maria had to live with a traitor, Damien was reluctant to let that happen, so he was sure that the way he took this might be the way for the good of both of them. Lucia also entrusted Maria to her mother to calm down, while she herself chose to stay in this house because she felt it was better. When Lucia was sleeping in her bed, Damien, who felt sorry, decided to go out and climb onto the bed and hug her from behind, where Lucia seemed to open her eyes without being surprised at all. And this is where the real plot twist is, because from the beginning Lucia had realized Damien's presence since Damien fell asleep under the bed. Whether it was a coincidence or just wanted revenge, Lucia already knew that her husband had been cheating on her, so when she saw a stranger under her bed, Lucia deliberately let him hope it was a robber who would kill Feed, but after realizing that Damien was not a robber, Lucia switched to the second plan, namely by making Dami sympathize with her. The goal of which was to take revenge for the affair committed by her husband, and her plan succeeded thanks to Damien's help. And the film ends. Although a simple film with a low budget and the location is only set at home, the concept presented is very interesting and mind-blowing. The story would be different if Lucia did not realize Damien's existence, or there was a housekeeper and CCTV installed in the house so that it was impossible for Damien to roam around as a useful parasite in the house. The message we can take from this film is that caring for others is a good thing, but interfering in other people's lives is something that will not make us happy.